Welcome back to Johnny's Scramble Drill, the Week 4 edition. Stucky and joining me, as always, none other than Mr. Johnny Manziel. As we do each and every week, we will go through 3 of the marquee games on Saturday's slate. We'll kick things off with a little USC, Michigan. The Trojans will be looking for their first win and or cover in either the Eastern or Central time zones in over 10 years. USC 5.5 point favorite here. Johnny, what are you seeing?
I like USC in this game to cover. I think there's just too many questions right now on the Michigan side of things to just really get behind them and back them. I mean, as good of a defense as they have with some star-studded players, I just feel like offensively, going to a quarterback change, is Alex Orji going to be the guy to finally bring some life and spark some life into this Michigan team? I just don't see it happening. And I think, USC, what they bring on the offensive side of the ball is something through the first 3 weeks of the season that has looked really good. I think Lincoln Riley will have these guys ready to go. And, something that you don't see Michigan obviously lose very many games in the big house, but this is not the same Michigan offense that we've seen in years past. And I think they're going to once again struggle this week.
Yeah, by the way, 2-1 week for you last week, so nice week there. Yeah, this Michigan offense, it's going to Orji. I assume they're just going to try to run QB options, spam the run, but the USC defense is significantly improved. And just like the Texas game, they have to find a way to, if you like Michigan in this game, you might as well bet them first half because they have to take advantage of the crowd, find a way to get a turnover. They can't fall behind in this game because if they fall behind, it's lights out because they have no semblance of a passing attack. Just mentioned that USC hasn't covered or won in the Eastern or Central time zones in over 10 years. Johnny, I know you didn't travel too far when you were at Texas A&M, but your overall thoughts on just the travel aspect during game week? Did you like it, not like it? Did it interrupt with the prep or your routine? What were your thoughts there just in general?
Well, I think I didn't have much of a problem being able to go on the road and get into some of these environments. This is a historic matchup in college football here, and going into the big house, I think this is something that, if I was playing in this game, you're obviously really excited to get into an environment like this. One that the crowd's going to be loud, it's going to be a little rowdy, but the one thing you can do with your play is go out and make that place really, really quiet. And there's definitely nothing better than going on the road, getting a lead early and really having that place hear a pin drop. So this is something that you just treat it as another game, and you just get out there and just try to not let it affect you too much.
Yeah, the game that we'll cover in prime time is Tennessee at Oklahoma, which we'll talk about in just a moment. One of the interesting storylines there is Nico. It's his first real true road game, right? He played in Charlotte, wasn't really a raucous environment as far as one-sided crowd. It was a kind of a split crowd there. I think your first road game was at SMU, and I think you went into Ruston and played Louisiana Tech in a wild one in a game that I think you guys ended up winning 59-57. But for him going into his first true road, and that's going to be crazy. It's the first SEC game ever for Oklahoma in prime time in Norman. But the first time you were in a raucous environment like that, were you prepared for it? Because it's I guess in playing Texas high school football, you have big crowds, but just the noise, the atmosphere. How did you prepare for it going into your first couple true road environments, and then how did you manage it?
Yeah, I think you have to lean on your older guys a little bit, especially on the offensive line who have played in some of these situations and some of these settings. Luckily for me, I had guys up front who had played a lot of games, who had a lot of experience. So just, being able to help a young starter and a young quarterback like Nico get a little bit more comfortable. But obviously having Josh Heupel, a guy who's been in this stadium a million times, know what this environment's going to be. I think he's going to have Nico ready to go and make this a smooth transition.
All right, before we get to that game, we do have a big one in the Big 12 when Utah will travel to Stillwater to take on Oklahoma State. There are questions around the status and health of Cam Rising. Seen this line bounce all around. Some things never change. The status of Cam Rising, which seems like it's been a topic of conversation for years. The quarterbacks in this game, Johnny, I don't know, I mean, we're older, but they're up there in age. They're getting close to us. I think 49 is the combined age of these two quarterbacks who have been around forever. What do you like here?
I bounced back and forth a little bit on this game quite a bit. Just, is Cam Rising going to be healthy? You know, what's the status of that? Deep down, I feel like Utah is the better football team. But just with that uncertainty of is he healthy? Is this? I'm going to go with Oklahoma State at home. They've struggled a little bit to run the ball and get really Ollie Gordon, you know, to take off the way that he did last year. I think that's something they're going to have to establish in this game if they want to win. We know they're going to pass the ball down the field vertically. We know Allen Bowman has the ability to stretch the ball, but they really need to get their running game going and Ollie Gordon. And I think that's what they're going to have to do in this game if they're going to want to pull out a win.
Yeah, the Utah defense, they're probably going to stack the box as usual, try to take away Gordon. That's what the first couple of opponents have done, which has made it a little tough for Gordon to get going. They're going to play man on the outside. Bowman's going to have some opportunities to hit those deep shots. If he does, it could be a very good day for Oklahoma State. But you're right. There's just so much uncertainty here because Utah with Cam Rising is just a different animal. So if he either doesn't play or he's not 100% healthy, that offense just doesn't have the same juice. Did you ever have to play in college with a semi-serious injury?
Yeah, I got
Or in high
banged up.
school?
I got banged up in our Auburn game my second year and ended up having to play against Vandy the next week with a AC joint little problem, and it was tough. It's something you're definitely thinking about in your head, and there's a lot of things that are out of your control, and you know very well that these defenses are going to come after a guy who's banged up. So, you know, luckily playing against a Vandy team that year, I didn't have to hit the ground too much, but it definitely is something that lingers in the back of your head for sure.
Did you guys change the game plan for that one?
We didn't change the game plan a whole lot. I think we just, you know, for me, it was just getting the ball out of my hand a little bit quicker, making sure I wasn't taking off and running as much as I had in weeks prior, and just really trying to, you know, for me, is being the guy who's dealing the ball, make sure you're not holding on to it and maybe getting rid of it and throwing it away a little quicker than you normally would.
Yeah, well, it helps to play Vandy too. But as you said, and that's one thing that Utah has said this year that they're trying to hold Rising back from running as much as he did in the past, which might hurt their offense. But I can understand how they're definitely concerned about his health and wanting to keep him healthy throughout the season. But let's move on to the primetime game between Tennessee and Oklahoma. Oklahoma has not been a home underdog of a field goal or more since back in 2000 when they upset #1 Nebraska. Wild scene. Their fans were throwing oranges onto the field after the game. There was pepper spray. They tore down the goalpost. It was crazy. And in that game, Josh Heupel was the quarterback, and Venables was the defensive coordinator for Oklahoma. Now they will face each other. And even more interesting is Josh Heupel was fired at Oklahoma, now going back to his alma mater. I'm sure that he wants this one, but the place should be electric. First SEC game in primetime in Norman. Oklahoma, one of the reasons why this is the first time they're an underdog. I mean, Tennessee's very good. They don't generally get these big time home games against, you know, elite opponents because their biggest game each year in the Big 12 against Texas was on a neutral field. So now, welcome to the SEC. You're going to get more of these opportunities. Should be a great environment. Oklahoma might be getting a little healthier along the offensive line. They've had a ton of injuries there. They were down to their fourth string center. Could be getting a couple of wide receivers back as well. So we'll see if that helps because the offense has not been that impressive, whereas Tennessee has been, although the competition has been a little questionable. Johnny, who do you like here between the mainstay in the SEC and one of the newest members?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Nico and Tennessee in this game. Where I think, you know, their offense is, even though it's a small sample size that we've seen so far, they look really, really good. I think they're firing on all cylinders. Josh Heupel has his guy and his team that looks like the best team that they've had in a couple years, in my opinion. I mean, really, really solid. I haven't seen enough from Oklahoma. They've struggled at times. throughout the last couple of weeks to just really click. Offensively, last week they may have looked a little bit better, but overall, I think this Tennessee team is just better, and I think they'll be prepared to go into Norman and take care of Oklahoma.
All right, so you're going with USC, Oklahoma State, and Tennessee. Chalk for Johnny. First time I think you've gone with all three favorites. Good luck, Johnny, this weekend. Thanks for joining me as always, and I'll see you same time next week for the Week 5 Scramble Drill. Cheers.